Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
I'm back. It's November. Hello. Yes, I'm a loser. I have a banjo and I'm not very good at playing it. Hi, it's Alice. I am back with a market update for the Victoria real estate market for November and October 2019. Let's get to it. So it's a scrungy kind of day again. If you've been following me, you know I love my scrungy Van Halen shirt. It's a Johnny Cash kind of day. Ooh. Yeah. I have a retaining wall in my house. Not in my house, in my backyard that I've been building. So taking a break. And of course, if you know me, I'm way too cheap to pay for an actual proper retaining wall. So I've learned how to do some quasi-mortar work myself, and I've learned how to mix my own concrete, and yeah, so it's fun. It's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. So anyways, I am here to share an update for the Victoria real estate market for essentially the end of October, but also just news that we've been coming across for November so far. So for those of you who have been wondering what the Victoria real estate market has been doing, I'm going to go through the sales and the prices, so bear with me if you're not in Victoria, but these are for my local people. So for October 2019, the end of October, the sales that went through were 619 sales versus last year's 598 sales, so pretty freaking close. Not super interesting. It was up about 3.5%. So overall this year in October versus last year in October, pretty decent sales. Definitely recovering from the slump from the past year or so. So good news for some, good for others, I don't know. I know some buyers want it to be, but it is what it is. Active listings at the end of October, we had 2,643 active listings on the market, ready to buy. And in October 2018, we had 2,510 active listings. So that is up 5.3%. So again, slight increase, nothing dramatic. To all my videos that have gone before, you know, for these past 6 months, again, we're looking at around a 2.4% drop in the HPI benchmark home price for single family dwellings in the core of Victoria. So, of course, I need to read my notes. I can't remember these exact numbers off the top of my head. So October 2019, the HPI for single family dwelling Victoria core was $857,700. That is that is down from October 2018, which was $878,900. So yeah. I mean, every time I do this, I feel like it's roughly, 1.5 or 2% drop. So it's just slowly, incrementally coming down to a more reasonable level, which is great. I'm finding it pretty balanced, and, working with people who have a reasonable budget for purchasing a home, there's decent selection. It's more if you're looking for something really specific, maybe the inventory is a bit slow coming to market, but for a normal house, unfortunately, you're still gonna have to have a budget of at least $700,000 and be very flexible about the neighborhood you're looking in. But overall, comparing it to my experience in the past few years, it's kind of decent. Anyways, the HPI benchmark condo price for Victoria, October 2019, it was $511,600, which is up 1.7% from last October, which was $503,200. So that again keeps slowly creeping up. I'm noticing that the percentages that it's creeping up for condos are kind of slowing down. So I don't know if that's just a seasonal thing. I tend to think it might be, but we'll just have to see. Christmas time and winter, people tend to slow down. They're not as heavy on the buying side. Although I do have a decent amount of buyers right now, but I just find in general things tend to slow down, right? A lot of professionals take time off in the winter, so it just kind of is what it is. For the people looking for the average price for single family dwellings in Greater Victoria, The average home price in October 2019 was $920,058. So that is down only a little bit from 2018, which was $921,133. So not as drastic as the HPI price, but that's the average price for single family. Greater Victoria condos, the average price for October 2019 is $454,855 versus October 2018 was $461,976. So interestingly, with condos versus the HPI, the average price has actually come down slightly. And I will say, just in my general looking, like I look at the MLS every single morning, we have what's called a hot sheet, and that shows everything that's new that just came to the market that morning or that day. And 454,000 to me feels a bit more average, you know, because when you have 511,000 for the HPI of condos, I feel like it's kind of averaging out with the higher end stuff, but 450, 400, depending on where you're looking, but I find that's kind of, I would err on that side unless you're looking more in the modern 2-bed, 2-bath kind of thing, but that's just my opinion. So those are the numbers. Hopefully that helps anybody who's keeping their finger on the pulse of the Victoria market. Yeah, it's really, if you're looking to buy right now, you want to come in with a strong approval. I am finding that still, even in these fall and heading to winter months, it's still pretty competitive in certain areas, like desirable neighborhoods, and that entry price point, it's still competitive. And I've had many instances where you write offers and it's just competing, right? And so there are still a few bidding wars going on, but not as dramatic as they used to be. But just be prepared if you're looking at properties that are one day on the market and they're really sweet little homes that are really well priced, you might be competing for that. So just keep that in mind. Really give all your documents that you need to give to your mortgage broker and get a really strong approval so you have a good fighting chance. Anyways, next up. On October 30th, the Bank of Canada announced their interest rate, and they did not change it. So this was one we were kind of waiting to see what happened after the election, which maybe some of you are really happy with the outcome, some are not. I know it wasn't what I wanted, but anyways, we have an outcome. And yeah, the interest rates will remain the same for the overnight interest rate. So it's remaining at 1.75%. Prime rate will remain at 3.95%. The reason that they said they were keeping the rate the same was because of the upturn in the housing market and the good job market, essentially, like it's a strong market, which apparently in Vancouver they're doing okay again. I don't know if that'll last. I'm not an expert on the Vancouver market, but it's been improving, so perhaps that's what they're thinking. You know, is their impetus for keeping the rates the same? I don't know. People seem to be a little bit surprised because they were expecting the rate to come down. I know forecasts were saying, you know, 1.5% or perhaps even lower, you know, mid 2020 to do like 1.5%, but time will tell. The next time they're meeting is in January 2020, so we will find out on the 22nd of January what happens. So if you're looking at renewing your mortgage, or sometimes there's blend and extend where you can blend your mortgage and extend it to, you know, if you're on a 5-year term, you can extend it to the next 5-year term and blend those rates. So I'm looking at doing that myself, and I think I'm just going to wait until January to see what happens, because a lot of mortgage brokers that I talk to think that it's going to drop sometime soon. But we thought it would be now, but we'll see what happens. So one of the last things that I wanted to mention, it's not going to be an incredibly long update this time, but I'm not going to waste your time if I don't have anything to say. So it hasn't been an incredibly exciting month. So I'm just sharing what I've been hearing and what I know. But the last thing I wanted to mention was the tenancy rent increase being limited to the CPI, which is Consumer Price Index. So basically the rate of inflation. So the rent increases have been said for 2020 it's going to be put at 2.6%, which a couple years ago it would have been the CPI plus 2%. So say if that were still in effect, the increase amount would be 4.6%. So anyways, yeah, basically they've changed that since 2019 to be just the CPI inflation rate. So good news for tenants, they're kind of pushed to increase affordability, and I think that's a great thing for tenants. Coming at it from a homeowner's point of view, it's kind of a difficult zone to be in because, you know, even as a homeowner myself, the costs have gone up, right? Property taxes have gone up. Everything goes up as your home value goes up. So it's kind of a balancing act, but I totally get that tenants need to be able to afford their really expensive rents. But how it affects people buying homes and why I'm mentioning it is if you are buying a home, and sometimes you do come across homes that have tenants in them, if you are not using it for landlord use, generally the tenants stay, right? And if you come across a tenancy where the previous owner, or the seller, is not collecting enough rent for that property, like sometimes in Victoria, you'll see it a lot in Oak Bay, where there's these kind of really beautiful but decrepit character homes, and they've got like 5 suites in them. And sometimes the people are paying, like, I've met people paying $400 a month because it's like owned by a 100-year-old man who just, you know, rented it out in the 80s or the 70s, and he's not kept up with the market and doesn't really care. Like, you do come across that, but and that's fine if that landlord is happy with that. But if you're buying that property and you have tenants paying below market rent, like substantially, apparently, like, I couldn't find the wording to actually like read it out to you, but my managing broker at my meeting was mentioning that you are no longer really able to go to the tenant or to petition to have a substantial rent increase. So if you were, say, buying a property that is only charging $500 for a suite, whereas it should be $1,000, normally you could go and petition to have that increased. But I can't find the wording on the BC government website, but apparently that's not true anymore, and you're limited to the CPI, which is, I said, 2.6%. So if you're buying a property and you're going to have to let tenants stay there, just be really careful that you're checking those rent prices and that they're actually doable for your investment calculations or whatever, because you might be kind of up the creek without a paddle if you buy something and you can't increase the rent to you know, a livable amount for you as the owner. So great for the tenants, but not so great for the person buying it. And the other thing, you know, just keep in mind is that if you're buying a property and you intend on demolishing the property or, you know, substantially renovating it, you can't kick out the tenants until you take possession and then get the appropriate building permits. So throughout that time, the tenant will have to stay there. And then you can serve your 4-month notice. And, you know, of course, the last month is free. So just be mindful of that. The changes, you know, a lot of the times they're taking the power away from the landlords to try and create a more stable and affordable environment for tenants. But, you know, you don't want to be in the situation as a property owner or as an investor where you're not covering your investment and you're losing money. So without the ability to petition for a higher substantial increase, could be pretty rough. So, you know, tenants don't like hearing that, but, you know, there's 2 sides to every story, and that's pretty rough if you have all your, you know, if you've saved a huge nest egg and you've put it into a property and then it's not profiting, it's, you know, or at least breaking even, it's pretty rough. So just be mindful of that, because things are changing and there's more regulations happening. They're going to be regulating the real estate industry. In November they created, what is it called? I have them in my notes. They created the BC Financial Services Authority that's going to be taking the real estate industry into that as well. by spring of 2021. So right now they're overseeing and regulating the mortgage industry or the mortgage brokers, private insurance companies, and financial institutions, so in BC. So yeah, they're working on things. It's a lot of change. It's hard to keep up with all the changes in regulations and all this kind of stuff, but that's what I've got for you. Hopefully it's not too boring. I know it's not that interesting. I hope there's something that's really interesting for December, or I guess I'll just have to do a Christmas video, which I'm excited about.
Christmas time's coming, Christmas time's coming.
But anyways, that's it for me. Hopefully you are having a great fall. I hope life is treating you all really, really well. And I will catch up with you next time. Thank you so much for watching. And again, if you ever need any real estate help or you want to buy or sell something, then give me a call. You know where to find me. Bye.